This message is how to ask a question. We are commanded to provide an answer to those who want us to explain the reason for our faith and our hope. 1 Peter 3:15. Therefore we must study to show ourselves approved. 2 Timothy 2:15. Everyone has questions for which they wish to have an answer. Children naturally ask so many questions that they sometimes drive their parents to distraction. The New Oxford Dictionary of English defines the word question as a sentence worded or expressed so to elicit information. We need to provide an answer for our faith, but how should we ask a question? There is an incorrect manner or motive in which to ask the question. Matthew 22:34-46. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they came together, and one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. And while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them a question, saying, What do you think of the Christ? Whose son is he? They said to him, The son of David. He said to them, How is it then that David, inspired by the Spirit, calls him Lord? Set at my right hand till I put thy enemies under thy feet. If David thus calls him Lord, how is he his son? And no one was able to answer him a word. Nor from that day did anyone dare to ask him any more questions. RSV throughout, unless otherwise noted. In the matter of questions relating to two great commandments upon which hang or depend all the law and the prophets, Acts 14, verse 14, Acts 24, verse 14, 28, verse 23. We can see that there is a problem in asking questions in an improper manner or with an ulterior motive. We can see that Christ found no problem with answering a question with a question. Luke 23:20, verse 3. We are all commanded to provide an answer to those who want us to explain the reason for our faith or hope. 1 Peter 3:15. But give honor to Christ in your hearts as your Lord, and be ready at any time when you are questioned about the hope which is in you, to give an answer in the fear of the Lord and without pride. Therefore, we must be able to answer questions relating to the faith or hope, meaning the beliefs that we understand or that we hold. We must be able to provide a proper scriptural answer to the questions we are asking regarding the reason for our belief. If we believe something strongly, we should think about why we hold this belief. Often, we seem to have a tendency to develop a justification for our beliefs. Job 40, verse 1-8. And the Lord said to Job, Will he who is protesting give teaching to the ruler of all? Let him who has arguments to put forward against God give an answer. And Job said in answer to the Lord, Truly, I am of no value. What answer may I give to you? I will put my hand on my mouth. I have said once, and even twice, what was in my mind, but I will not do so again. Then the Lord made answer to Job out of the storm wind and said, Get your strength together like a man of war. I will put questions to you, and you will give me the answers. Will you even make my right of no value? Will you say that I am wrong in order to make clear what you are right? BBE. As we see in the example from Matthew 22, Christ generally quoted in response to the questions he received. He had no problem answering a question with a question. As we should note, people often upbraid others for doing so. Luke 20, verse 1 to 3. One day, as he was teaching the people in the temple and preaching the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes with the elders came up and said to him, "Tell us by what authority you do these things, or what it is that gives you this authority." He answered them, "I also will ask you a question. Now tell me." Continuing in verses 4 to 8, we can see that Christ also did not feel that he was obligated to answer every question demanded of him. Luke 20, verse 4 to 8. Was the baptism of John from heaven or from men? And they discussed it with one another, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, all the people will stone us, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know whence it was. And Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." As we read in Matthew 22, he silenced the Pharisaical lawyers by the questions he asked them. These questions are all related to the plan of God, a plan that they did not understand, or perhaps that they refused to accept. Mark 12, verse 24. Jesus said to them, "Is not this why you are wrong, that you know neither the Scriptures nor the power of God?" These scribes were trained from birth and often knew at least the first 5 books of the Bible by memory. They could not understand, however, because the plan and comprehension were withheld from them. They neither knew nor understood the Scriptures or the power of God. Power in Strong's Greek Dictionary 1411, Dumas, Duonamus, from 1410. It is translated in the Authorized Version as power 77 times and as mighty work 11 times. God's mighty work or plan is the salvation of all of His creation and to become all in us all. 1 Corinthians 12, verse 6. The Jews of the day did not keep the law correctly. Galatians 6:13. For even those who received circumcision did not themselves keep the law, but they desire to have you circumcised, and they may glory in your flesh. RSV. Romans 2:23 to 27. You who boast in the law, do you dishonor God by breaking the law? For it is written, the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. Circumcision indeed is of value if you obey the law, but if you break the law, your circumcision becomes uncircumcision. So if a man who is uncircumcised keeps the precepts of the law, will not his uncircumcision be regarded as circumcision? Then those who are physically uncircumcised but keep the law will condemn you, who have the written code and circumcision but break the law. Their forefathers had agreed to keep the covenant which they understood. Exodus 24, 1-7. And he said to Moses, come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders